Hey everybody, it is late at night and I am Norman. I love a good origin story. I'm often intrigued by questions like, where did a certain word or slang term come from? Or company names, or technological idea, or company idea, or traditions. And so I thought it would be fun to take 5 different watch brands and look briefly at their origin stories. So let us begin. The first brand I would like to discuss is Christopher Ward. And if you know me, you know that I love me some Christopher Ward. I actually currently own 3 of their pieces, and I've done videos on each of those. And I've touched on their history just a little bit. However, in doing research for this video, I uncovered some details that I didn't know before. So let's take a look at Christopher Ward. The company was founded in 2005 by Christopher Ward, Mike France, and Peter Ellis. Ellis and France had previously owned a toy company that they had sold, and so they were looking for their next big venture. And Christopher Ward at the time was importing t-shirts, and he had kind of grown tired of the industry and was also looking for something new. I really like the way Mike France outlines the origin of the company. So I'm going to read an excerpt that he wrote as listed on their website. It all began on a gentle boat trip down the Thames in May 2004. Peter and I had recently sold Early Learning Center, an ethical toy company. While Chris was bored with importing t-shirts, I suggested we start a company together. It needed to be something we were all interested in, as football and music seemed beyond us, and because we were all fascinated with horology, we settled on watches. We called it Christopher Ward. It seemed like the most quintessentially English name of the 3 of us. And so, on June 2nd, 2005, from a converted chicken shed on a farm in Berkshire, we launched the world's first online-only watch brand. Now, we had to let people know what we were doing. The next brand I would like to discuss is Baltic, and I've actually touched on the history of this brand in my review of the Aquascaf. It was founded by Etienne Malik, who inherited a watch collection from his father, who was an avid collector and a photographer, and he kept photographic journals of his collection. And it actually may be one of these photographs that served as the inspiration for Baltic. The idea behind the company is to create watches that were inspired by vintage pieces and yet have a timeless design themselves, so that far into the future they will be just as relevant as they are today. The next brand I want to talk about is Nomos. And of course, I love Nomos. In fact, one of my earliest videos was a discussion on the brand. As watch brands go, it's fairly young. Founded in 1990, shortly after the fall of the Berlin Wall. And before I continue, I need to apologize up front for any mispronunciation that is going to occur for the remainder of this video. The company was founded by Roland Schwertner. And who is Roland Schwertner? Prior to founding Nomos, he was a photographer for Mode magazine. And he was also an IT consultant. Crazy. And so what he did was he bought up defunct German watch companies like Nomos that were active in the early 1900s. When the company was founded, he had only 3 watchmakers, and they were working out of a rented flat. It took them 2 years to produce their first 4 models, and these models are still being produced today. Nomos is absolutely phenomenal. To my eye, each of their designs is absolute perfection. Prior to making this video, I knew absolutely nothing about the last 2 brands that I'll be talking about, so it was interesting digging into their history. The first of these 2 brands is Glycine, and it was founded by a watchmaker named Eugene Malin. And the company was originally called, well, that. And it was a producer of small women's watch movements. However, in 1930, the brand put out its own watch, featuring an automatic winding movement in it. In 1953, the Airman came out, and this watch featured a calendar, a 24-hour rotating bezel, as well as a 24-hour dial. In 1967, the Airman SST came out, and this watch featured a tonneau or barrel-shaped case. It had an orange dial and an inner rotating bezel. In 2016, Glycine joined the Invicta watch group. However, allegedly, Invicta isn't meddling with the brand, just handling marketing and the distribution. The last brand on my list is, and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Yema. This brand was founded by Henry Belmont in 1948. And who is Henry Belmont? He was a French watchmaker who graduated at the top of his class at Besançon. I'm so sorry. In 1931. The cool thing about this brand is apparently its name came from a competition that was organized by Henry Belmont. So it was named by a teenager. That is so cool. I have a list of the brand's accomplishments that I'm going to go through. In 1963, the Yema Superman came out, and this is iconic, and it's still being produced today. It is a dive watch that features 300 meters of water resistance and the iconic bezel lock. It was actually issued to French pilots. In 1966, the Jottengroff came out. I'm sorry. This is a sailing watch, and it features a Valjoux automatic movement and 200 meters of water resistance. In 1966, the Rallygraph came out, and this is a chronograph that was actually worn by Mario Andretti. In 1982, the first French watch in space was a Yema, the Spationaute 1, and it was worn by Jean-Luc Chrétien. I'm sorry again. In 1986, a special piece was produced for Jean-Louis Etienne, and it was designed to handle extreme cold so that it could go with him on his 800-kilometer trip across the North Pole. So, there you have it. 5 different brands and their amazing origin stories. Thanks for watching.